So, welcome to Levett Consultancy, enabling remote learning for schools webinar. My name is Paul Levett. I'm the CEO of Levett Consultancy. Our webinar today is aimed to actually provide you a snapshot of how schools can enable remote learning and working with Levett Consultancy and our partners Wonde and Imperial Software. If you have any questions during this case of this webinar, in the top right-hand corner, you'll notice there's actually a little chat icon. If you click on that chat icon, and you write any questions into that, we aim to actually respond to all those questions before the end of the webinar. And at the end of the session, as long as we're sending you the presentation, we'll also send you a spreadsheet of all the questions with the answers, all the answers to that. Okay, the agenda today, over the next course of an hour, we're just going to be going through. I'm going to be going through it basically in a few minutes' time. Just going through the DfE's Digital Education Platform grant, how you get access to that, how many schools are currently signed up to that, and what you get as part of that grant. Then shortly followed after myself, I'll be passing to my colleague Stephen Hazel, who'll be discussing how you can actually use G Suite for Education to teach from anywhere. So that's within your school and also working from home, and also pupils learning from home as well. And then once Stephen's basically finished his short section, that'll be handed over to Jonathan at Wonde, who'll be showing you and discussing about basically how you can use G Suite and Wonde Sync tools to keep your MIS system and your G Suite up to date, and giving all your children a common identity. So it's like one username and password to access their many resources. And then finishing off our session today, will be Devinder from Impero, who will be covering at the new Impero backdrop tool, which is a digital safeguarding tool to protecting your pupils from in school and also when they're learning from home as well. And if we do have time, we'll have a short panel answer and discussion session. Okay, how to apply for the DfE Digital Education Platform grant. So back in March of this year, we was approached by the Department of Education and Google Education about a possible scheme to help schools through the current COVID pandemic, about how the government can ensure that all children can have remote education working from home, but also allowing schools to start actually getting back into physical locations, but also in the case of teachers who can't actually unable to actually get into schools, they can still teach from home to their class sets of pupils. So the government was talking to us about that, and then basically on the 24th of April of this year, they launched the actual Digital Education Platform grant, which actually was rolled out to every single school in England. And what also has happened is that since September of this year, the government's also introduced that from October 22nd, obviously now it's passed, is that every single state-funded school in England has a legal duty now to provide remote education, and they've put that as part of the statute within the Coronavirus Act. The scheme, what the government's actually running, is due to actually finish on December the 31st. But from talking to the government as part of our monthly supply meetings we have with the DfE, they've basically said to us that if a school does come into the grant, ask for the grant in sort of January, they're not going to really turn that sort of school down, because it's important to the DfE that every school has the opportunity to provide remote learning to all their pupils. Okay, so currently where we are with the scheme, obviously it got launched on the 24th of April of this year. 6,500 schools have applied for the grant, but 5,100 got accepted. And the reason for that is there's a slight criteria what schools have to have in place before they will get accepted by the DfE to access to the grant. So the accepting criteria is based on only for all England schools who are state funded, and that's primary, secondary, special schools and pupil referral units. We do have schools who've been nursery schools, specifically doing early years education. Unfortunately, they're excluded from the scheme because they're not a state-funded statutory education. That's the reason we have gone back and forward with the DfE, see if we can get some of our customers who have asked us into that, but it's been a straightforward refusal. But what we have been asked by the DfE for those schools who are outside of the scheme, can we make sure that the agreed sort of like funding price, what the government's agreed, is that's actually gets quoted to the schools. So effectively, all the schools are treated exactly the same. They all get basically the same funding arrangements. If you're not funded, you get the same sort of cost arrangements, which is £1,500 for primary schools and £2,000 for secondary schools. But the criteria, once you actually are a state-funded school, is there's two criteria to see if you meet. So the first one is making sure that if you don't have no digital education platform in place, So that's i.e. no learning platforms, virtual learning platforms in place where children can actually do remote learning. If you haven't got that in place, you'll be accepted into the scheme. The other option being, if you've already got Office 365 or G Suite set up within your school, but you haven't got it set up properly for pupils, you may have pupils in the system, but they're not actually associated to classes and they're not synchronized with your MIS system, and then you will be eligible for the scheme. So just making sure that every teacher, every pupil in your school all has access to an online learning platform where you can actually teach, and obviously children can learn from. Okay, once you're accepted into the grant, into the scheme, basically you get 6 options, or 6 things what we have to do to deliver. And that delivery options are, we will make sure you get an end-to-end G Suite for Education set up. So that's basically from inception, working with you guys on exactly what your requirements are for that, and then actually going through the proof of concept, what the government's laid out of the actual scope of works, what you need to actually adhere to. Once that bit's been agreed, we let the government know everything's been accepted, and we start working on the end-to-end G Suite Education setup. And as part of that setup, we will work with Wonde to actually implement Wonde Sync, which will basically link your MIS system, and that could be Sims, Arbor, any RM, all the sort of the main MIS systems out there. That will basically link to your MIS system in the school to basically G Suite for Education. And as long as you update your MIS system, it will update G Suite for Education with the teachers, the pupils, and your classrooms as well. And if you change your teachers, or you change your students, change your classrooms, it automatically synchronize that. And importantly, it gives your teachers and pupils one single common identity as well. So no longer you have to keep remembering about different password usernames. It's one set of password usernames, all managed in from your MIS system using Wonde Sync. Once that part's in place, we also then make sure that you've got your core security settings set up, so you've got a safe, secure environment to meeting your safeguarding remits. And to ensure basically teachers are confident using the technology, we also introduce a remote learning hub, which basically gives you lots of resources from teachers how to actually access additional teaching resources, how to actually get certified to become certified educators, and also where, if something doesn't work, where to go to, sort of thing. So you get a learning hub set up for you as part of that. So you've got a single central point of contact to actually go to for everything. And then ensuring all your staff are confident actually using the technology. And what we implemented, we also provide a handover training session. And those handover training sessions are done through remote means using Google Meets, like what we're on today. And that basically takes anything between 1 hour to 2 hours, depending on how much time you can, dedicate for us to be able to train your staff. And on top of that, we also provide all of our schools as part of the DfE 30 days of free enterprise support from a basic UK-based service desk. Okay, how do you apply for the grant? Well, there's 2 ways. It's very, very easy. You can either contact us directly, and we'll work with you on actually completing the application form to get you signed up for the grant. So we will be able to tell you whether you're eligible or not eligible at that point, and then we can walk you through the process to get you signed up for that. Or you can just head over to our website, and there'll be an option on there where you can go to the DfE's website and you can complete the online form there. But if you're stuck on the online form, obviously come through and talk to us, and we'll try to help you with that. We would really appreciate it. Anyone who does the online form without talking to ourselves, if you might want to select Levett Consultancy as your partner, we'll basically be able to make sure that you get the right sort of platform with all those other services like Wonde and the free support services all included within that sort of service. Also, it's really important as well. We're obviously an education-focused business, and what we've done, we've actually put together a COVID-19 hub page on our website, and it'd be really great if you guys can actually head over to that at some point, and you can see all the other things what we're helping schools with, along with other pages to all different grants what schools have got access to as well. And if there's anything schools need access to or want to know about other grants outside the DfE, feel free to contact Levett Consultancy, and we'll be hopefully be able to help you and point you in the right direction. Okay, so thanks for your time. I will now pass you over to my colleague Stephen Hazel to go through basically teaching from anywhere with G Suite for Education.
Thank you, Paul. Hi everyone, my name is Steve, as Paul said. I'm going to be talking about how the COVID pandemic has led to schools needing to adapt their teaching methods over the past 9 months, and how by using G Suite for Education this has made it possible. So when the original lockdown started, everything changed in schools. Schools leaders needed to rethink how to actually communicate with the parents and the guardians. They needed to best determine how to deploy the devices and technologies to cater for distance learning, which they hadn't done in the past. Teachers needed to completely manage the material in a new way, something, again, they hadn't really had to do previously. Parents quickly needed to prepare to become teachers themselves, and they need to understand how they could best work with the school's distance learning procedures. And the students need to discover how to best work in a home environment, but also how to engage with their teachers and their classmates at the same time. And this is where G Suite for Education comes in. Next slide, please, Lloyd. So what is G Suite for Education? Well, G Suite for Education includes a set of powerful and simple tools that are easy to use, flexible and scalable, built for collaboration, and secure by their design. They include things like Gmail, Docs, Meet, Drive, and Classroom. Some of the key features of these apps include they're collaborative and they're cloud-based, meaning that they're available at any time, anywhere, on any device. I think that was a big key feature here, that you didn't have to have the latest, super duper laptop or greatest machine to use it. As long as you had an internet connection, it could be an Apple machine, a Windows, a Chromebook, a telephone, a tablet, whatever it was, you'd be able to access these apps and actually do the distance learning from home. Now, currently, there are over 140 million students and educators using G Suite for Education worldwide. Next slide, please, Lloyd. Now, the main focus of many schools is Google Classroom. The Google Classroom tool within G Suite Education allows educators to easily create, grade, and also collate assignments and provide rich feedback using built-in grading tools. There are currently over 100 million students and educators using the Classroom application itself. The best part of Google Classroom is how easy it is to use. You can create a new class within seconds. You either get the students enrolled automatically using Wonde, which you'll hear about in a minute, or invite them into the classroom via an email or by using the class code. It's just as simple then to create an assignment to which you can attach any number of documents, videos or links, and to share these with the students. Once students have completed the work that you set and they've turned it in, the teacher can then mark the work, making all the necessary comments and return it to the students. Classroom also includes a number of other features, including the ability to check for plagiarism by checking the whole of the web against the work handed in. It also checks against students' work against each other to see if they've copied each other. Next slide, please, Lloyd. Now, also in Google Classroom, teachers have the ability to use Google Meet, which is what we're currently using now. This allows teachers to have a dedicated meeting space for each class using a unique meeting link displayed on the classroom stream and the classroom pages, making it easy for both the teachers and the students to join. Teachers also have the ability to mute or remove other participants and approve requests to join made by participants from outside of the school's domain, giving them total control of the meeting. New features coming to Meets includes breakout rooms, a hands up feature, and also personalized backgrounds. Next slide, please, Lloyd. So if you're looking for support with G Suite, there are a number of places you can go to. First of all, you can visit the Teacher Center website, for Google. Here you can get product guides and training for all of the G Suite apps that are available. You can also get certifications and become an educator level 1 or 2 by completing the training modules and taking the appropriate exams. This is quite good in schools if you want to, say, create like a Google guru within the school. So you have 1 or 2 people are the go-to people. If they've taken these exams, which are all the actual modules are free themselves, the exams only cost about sort of £10 to take the actual exam to get certification, then they will be trained up in all of the basics that they would need for anyone to then to be able to go to them and ask questions about Google. Next slide, please, Lloyd. You can also visit the Google Teach from Home website. Here you can find a number of useful tools for both teachers and families. These include case studies, previous Google webinars or distance learning, and handy guides for using the various applications within the classroom. So this is not only aimed at teachers and schools, but also at parents as well. And there's good guides on there that you can actually share with the parents to actually help them understand the distance learning and how it works. Next slide, please, Lloyd. We also have a free 8-week course which you can sign up to via your email on the Levett website. This will send you directly to your inbox, and it's video-based tutorials on Google apps such as Google Drive, Google Docs, Gmail, and Classroom. If you haven't really got much experience with Google, I'd highly recommend this. This is a really good place to start to understand the Google environment, and it only takes 10 to 12 minutes to complete. So it's a really good introduction, nice and quick, nice and easy, but it gives you all the basics, fundamentals of understanding. Next slide, please, Lloyd. Okay, now at Levett, we understand that from time to time, things go wrong with IT. With that in mind, We've provided the full cloud support service for your digital education platform. It fully supports all Google Education products, and it's available for £500 a year, either directly from ourselves or through the government-backed G-Cloud 12 digital marketplace website. This support will give you 24/7 access to our service desk, as well as telephone, email, video chat support from our technical team. Now, if you have any questions about this or anything else I've spoken about today, please do not hesitate to contact us either through the chat now in the Google Meet or later on via a call or an email to us at the company. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Jonathan to talk about Wonde. Over to you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Stephen. Hi, everybody. My name is Jonathan. I'm the Partnership Manager at Wonde. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit today about how we kind of contribute and add value to the services that that Levett are providing you. So essentially, as mentioned earlier by Paul, the scheme that we're talking about today is to get schools cloud ready and work much more effectively with their remote learning environment. So for us at Wonde, we kind of have a solution that helps make that even more sort of tangible and practical within the classroom. So if we could just jump onto the next slide, thank you, Lloyd. Actually, we'll just jump on one more as well, would be good. Thanks so much. So just as an overview, Wonde, our core business is school data management. So we have a system that allows school MISs to talk to third-party applications by using an API connection, and as a result of that, we sort of data management is kind of like the crux of the company, which means we are fully data compliant. So with this, you can rest assured that that's one thing that we take we're super secure with, because it's what our business is built on, and also we're fully ISO regulated, which means that you can have confidence in the way that we're using your data, the school's data. So next slide, please, Lloyd. So Google Sync is our solution, which fits in the middle. So as mentioned, we have a core business which is data management, but off the back of that, we've been able to build some tools, some applications, if you like, of our own that kind of benefit from the data flow that we have access to. And Google Sync is kind of one of our key tools. Now, when a school uses G Suite, you'll obviously need to have your students and their classrooms and all of their data populated into that G Suite platform. And that can be done in a manual way, but it's a long and time-consuming process, which doesn't reflect any changes within your MIS. So however you set out your Google Classrooms within your school MIS, you're going to want that to be reflected in G Suite, and our Google Sync tool makes that happen. So we'll provision however you set Google Sync up in your MIS directly into your G Suite application. So any changes that you make, any new students that join or leave, or changes to classrooms or groups, anything like that, are instantly provisioned. So there's no changes needed for the school within G Suite itself, and that makes the tool much more usable, much more practical, and does exactly kind of what it intends to do. So when you speak to one of the guys from Levett Consultancy and they move you into G Suite, they'll use our tool to make sure that G Suite, as I keep mentioning, reflects accurately your MIS, and that is really, really important, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're having to update and change and amend your G Suite every time there's a change within the school. It becomes a completely unmanageable thing. Next slide, please, Lloyd. Okay, so as mentioned already, what we will do is our tool will either match or create anything within your MIS. So for you guys setting up new G Suite G Suite platforms, we'll be creating your students, making sure that they have the right teachers associated to them, that they have the right classes, the right groups that they're in, for year groups, for example, and also any work that you assign to your students, we'll be able to archive that work so that you'll never lose it, and you can use it in previous years if needed. Next slide, please. So, in very, very simple terms, Google Sync mirrors your MIS. So it's a very straightforward, very simple tool that makes your G Suite applications reflect your school MIS. So you can have confidence that however you want your G Suite to be set up, it will look like that on a daily basis. The sync runs once a day, so if you make a change on the Monday, by Tuesday morning, your Google Apps will reflect exactly as they should be looking within the school MIS. Next slide, please, Lloyd. So the second tool and the second way that Wonde helps is obviously the Google Sync tool provisions your G Suite. One of the big ways that we can help within the classroom is through our single sign-on solution. Now, so I'm actually an ex-teacher, so I remember that the pain of getting students to log into applications in the classroom and the difficulties that come with that. And one single sign-on is aimed to just take that away. So those lost minutes at the start of every hour trying to get your students into applications are taken away through our single sign-on tool. And this works in a really simple way. So schools sometimes will have 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8 different applications that they're using, and you no longer need to worry about having individual logins for those applications. So Wonde is designed to log in 3 ways. The first is through a magic badge, which you can see a picture of it on the screen, or essentially a QR code, and they're managed by the teacher within the classroom, allowing the student to log in. We can have a randomized emoji password with millions of different combinations, so super secure, or they can use the traditional username and password approach, which some curriculums, the curriculum does obviously say that at some point students will need to have that traditional login understanding as well. And what this does is it allows the student to go straight into any application that the school uses. Now, if they are using Chromebooks, I think if we can just jump on a slide, this one, Lloyd, I think it's mentioned. Yeah, maybe one more again. Thanks very much. If the school is using Chromebooks, that's the kind of perfect fit for us. So Chromebooks, Google Sync, and single sign-on work really, really well together. And what that means is that you can log in directly to your Chromebook into the hardware and then into the application. So as soon as the student sits down, opens the Chromebook, uses their magic badge or their emojis, they log straight into all of their applications. And we will be dropping in the chat in a second so a couple of little videos that we've got that show Google Sync and single sign-on working in the classroom, so you can just watch those whenever you want. You don't have to sit through them on this presentation. And what we've designed our single sign-on to allow pretty much any application to be used within it. So there are some applications that build the background connection that means they're straight into single sign-on, and then some applications don't have that, but we have a solution which allows us to upload passwords into our single sign-on. So even those non-integrated applications can still be used as part of single sign-on. Next slide, please. Yeah, so as mentioned, it's kind of the Chromebook for us is the good fit, but single sign-on does work on desktops and laptops as well. So the solution does come outside of Chromebooks, but Chromebooks is the really neat fit, which allows us to get into the hardware as well. And Google Sync is fundamental to that. If you're going to want to use the single sign-on solution and you're going to want to and you use Chromebooks, Google Sync makes it possible to log into your Google Apps in that process as well. So I think that's kind of me. We'll get our videos dropped down into the chat, and I'm just going to hand over now to Devinder from Impero.
Hello everybody, I'm Devinder from Imperial Software. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about Impero, our partnership with Levett, and just give you a high-level overview of some of the new products, in particular our freemium safeguarding solution that we can offer in conjunction with the services provided with Levett. Next slide, please, Lloyd. So I'm going to start off with a little bit about Impero without making presumptions that colleagues know who we are. We have been operating across the UK in particular since 2002. So we have an 18-year pedigree, primarily focused on managing the networks within schools and the ICT infrastructure, to then evolve into classroom management and then into online safety. More recently, with some of the changes and investment into the business, we've really had a strong focus on learner-centric solutions, in particular safeguarding solutions, and at the forefront online safety. We have software being used. I'd probably say circa 2.5 million devices and over 10 million students now that are protected by some level of software provided by Impero. And we do use that learning to then evolve the product roadmap as we go. Next slide, please, Lloyd. So I will take you back a little bit just in terms of the onset of COVID and some of the changes within the landscape, particularly across EdTech in the UK. We were finding that, as mentioned with our colleagues earlier, that the changing in styles of teaching evolved pretty quickly from actual on-premise into hybrid, blended teaching, and for some cases completely to be delivered at home off-premise. That caused us to look and review at our roadmap and potentially look at solutions that would work both on and off-premise, and also solutions that were both device and platform agnostic. With the onset of COVID, we also did review our solution provision, and we did provide a freemium solution into education, which is now completely free, and it continues to be free to aid safeguarding digitally from anywhere by anyone at any time. Next slide, please, Lloyd. So our solution, which is the Backdrop platform, is the single point of entry for some of our cloud-based solutions. In this diagram, which is a lovely graphic by one of my colleagues, it's just a simple diagram to demonstrate that Backdrop is powering our solutions going forward. So again, this is a completely cloud solution from which we can access paid-for modules such as our classroom management functionality, and also filtering called WebCheck, online safety and safeguarding called Wellbeing as well. The idea being that we wanted our solutions to be learner-centric or device-centric, or a combination of both. Next slide, please, Lloyd. So what's prompted the change, and why did we have to review our solutions? So we know across the UK we're mandated to ensure that learners are safe online. We have legislation that has been around for some time, and we also have to think about safeguarding and making that easy for some of our clients, and also those clients that we don't work with, and also ensuring that we had a solution that our partners such as Levett could actually talk to their clients about and wrap that in as some of their solutions that they're providing you currently. Some of the challenges the schools we work with were facing were things like being able to see the learners visually. This capability was taken away. The learners were at home and they have no way of engaging with the learners. They were using paper-based systems that were often kept under lock and key in school. And also they were concerned around GDPR compliance. So we needed to think about something that was not only compliant, but also was completely cloud-based and accessible. And again, it supported legislation. So one of the key things that we did was to ensure the software is GDPR compliant, but also does comply with keeping children safe in education, the prevent duty, and also guidance around working together to safeguard children and data protection. Next slide, please, Lloyd. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the background and who Impero are, but this is going straight into the application itself. So I've put a screenshot in here, and time permitting, I'd like to see if we can jump into the software just to give you a little bit of an overview on what that functionality looks like. What we were hoping to do with Backdrop is to provide a solution, again, as we say, that's completely free for schools, that would allow you to record safeguarding concerns. What do we mean by safeguarding concerns? That can be any piece of information related to child protection, for example, behavior, eating disorder, or actually a learner's well-being. It would allow you to record that information against the learner's record. Next slide, please, Lloyd. Also, in well-being, we brought together the ability to not only record concerns in a single central record, but also the ability to monitor those devices. In the previous presentations, we've had a look at using applications such as G Suite in the classroom. We've also briefly touched on devices themselves. So when a learner is using a device, we want to make sure that we're capturing anything of concern at a device level right through to the holistic well-being of that learner. What we were able to do in this technology is to bring together online safety concerns as well as off-site digital recorded concerns as well. So For example, if we have a concern around learner well-being, we are able to detect anything done locally at device level and bring that together with any other external factors in a single central record, such as the screenshot on the screen right now. Next slide, please, Lloyd. We also have within the technology a classroom management solution. Now, I think, Jonathan, you touched on it briefly, the use of classroom management technology, the ability to sign on learners immediately and not lose time in the lesson. This technology is designed to aid the teachers, and it works in sync with some of the other solutions we talked about today. So this classroom management solution, again, from a safeguarding perspective, allows the teachers to deliver their lessons, but also view the learners conducting the work, and also can spot any interventions or any concerns early. The classroom management technology can be reached through the same backdrop platform as well as well-being. So again, just going back to a couple of points that we made earlier, just on the backdrop platform, I'm going to take you back. So backdrop is our point of entry. So it's our URL by which you would enter the application and you would gain access to other areas of functionality. So just to talk you through the menu very quickly, you have here backdrop itself. So this is our recording system. This is where I would create concerns. As we've spoken about, concerns mean different things for different schools. And again, anything from being able to raise a concern about a learner on any aspect of their well-being. So I'm just going to select Lisa here as an example. So my information on Lisa is actually pulled through from the MIS and automatically populated. Once I have this information, I can view her chronology, which are safeguarding concerns about Lisa, which may have been raised by her teachers, DSLs, or other colleagues, but also I'd have the ability here to add a concern also. The concern types can vary and can be customized by each school. Here we pre-populate with a basic set for you, which range from pastoral child protection behaviour right through to first aid. We also have the ability in this application to very simply add medical information about Lisa. This will flag for the teacher or anybody in a safeguarding capacity that Lisa has a medication, it's no longer recorded on paper, and we have an immediate alert if she needs to administer medication, for example. We're also here, it's very easy for us to record minutes of any meetings, particularly if there are any child protection concerns or anything we need to raise and share with other colleagues. I'm just going to jump back into Lisa's details. Now, we talked a little bit about Backdrop itself, the platform, and we talked about access to other areas of functionality. Now, once we enter the Backdrop platform, we'd start off with a free forever safeguarding system where we can record concerns. We can then take that a step further very quickly. So I'm just going to whiz through these areas, which is the classroom management side. So here I have the ability to view my class group, but also view the devices that are being used in the classroom. So here I have my iPhone. Unfortunately, I've lost the camera, so I can't show you. But here, hypothetically, I could be anyone, anywhere, using a device, and the teacher can view my learning. We talked a little bit earlier about being able to log on those learners. Once they're logged on, we can very easily push out applications from here as well to have that lesson start in a timely manner and to ensure the work is being done. Okay, so far? So we have quite simple functionality, and the idea behind it is to make it easy for the teacher. Going a step further, we now have the ability within the application as well to view all of our online safety concerns from a single central view. So this is just a view of online safety captures of concerns. They run off a list of policies, or what we call keyword lists, and the system will trigger once one of those have been typed in anywhere on that device. Once we have a screenshot, we have the ability to triage the screenshot and also raise an immediate concern against a particular learner. So in a nutshell, that is pretty much Backdrop. So I'm just going to go back and stop the screen share. So please let me know if you can still see or not see, as the case is, and we're back on.
Yeah, we've gone back. Yeah, we're back to normal now. Thanks, Devinda.
Lovely. No worries.
That was absolutely great. So basically, what people can see, like from the session we've done today, is that if you sign up for the DfE grant, it's not just about getting the grant to get your remote learning platform enabled. Working with Levett Consultancy, we're also trying to give you a bit more value around that, basically knowing how it actually works within a school environment based on our 20 odd years experience working with schools. Is that making sure not only do you just get a G Suite for Education platform deployed, but you also get your MIS synchronization technology deployed as well to basically save time creating those accounts and making sure those accounts are kept up to date within G Suite and your MIS all the time, but also providing you a safeguarding solution as well, where you're basically not just got the protection within your local school environment, but also where you got the remit now since October 22nd about making sure children can do remote learning. We also need to make sure they're in a safe environment, and I think it's very difficult sometimes for schools to make sure when they're at home with parents that they're actually using the technology correctly, and also they're actually doing it in that safe way as well. So from using Impero sort of technology in place, you actually got that safeguarding bit helps you as well across outside that physical location of the school. Before we sort of finish off, if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to basically put some questions into there, or if you take your mic off, ask some questions. Hopefully you'll be able to answer your questions, and obviously some of the other guys here might be able to answer those questions as well. I'll put some links in the chat as well for everyone as well, just covering where the DfE website is. I know Jonathan's put some stuff in there for the case studies on using the Wonde sort of technology as well. So has anyone got any questions? Very quiet. Okay, if no one's got any questions, feel free to just basically drop us a line if you need any help with anything. Otherwise, we'll be following up after the session with a copy of the presentations, and if anyone's got any questions at that point, we'll be able to answer those questions as well over correspondence. So I'd like to thank you all for attending, and especially thank you to our partners who helped put this together today. Thank you.